Welcome to the Any Given Chance podcast. Stories about passion and sacrifice, what actually goes on behind the scenes in the consistent chase of everything. We're going to bring you some untold stories, some of people you know, some of people you don't. These stories that we bring on with our guests are nothing short of inspiring and will get you out there chasing your own goals as well. Join me, your host, 3am 365, Matty Mannion, as we dive into these incredible stories. And of course, as the podcast grows, so do we together. So stick with us from the start, hit that like and share, subscribe button, get your family and friends involved, and we'll see where we are in 100 podcasts. No days off, no excuses. Luke Dittman, my man, Luke D, how are you? Welcome to the podcast, Any Given Chance, as all the listeners would know, or the new ones out there, finding stories of sacrifice and passion behind the scenes, what actually goes in to be able to achieve those goals and the success. Mate, your story for me is very motivating and inspiring because you do have to sacrifice a lot. But before we jump into that, let's just go into who you are. Professional jockey, you've had some time off in the middle there. You've won a premiership over here at the Gold Coast, along with once you completed your apprenticeship, you cleaned up another premiership there. And now just chasing that consistent dream back here when you're, how old are you?
29.
29, back in the game and looking to get some winners, basically. So, mate, if for everyone out there, just let them know, how you got into racing. Anyone who sort of knows your last name knows that your old boy was a gun. You can look up his record on Google and it's, this far along. So, I guess it was just thrust. You were there from day one, basically.
It was like, I was sort of always around horses. I think both parents didn't want me to ride initially. My mum, more so than anyone, sort of saw the pitfalls, and obviously, like, this is a game of the top sort of 1 or 2%, really. Everyone knows them, and then the rest sort of struggle, and there's weight issues, there's falls, there's broken bones, there's everything. So she never really wanted me to be in it. But as a kid, I sort of grew up and watched the old boy, and I couldn't have a better mentor or a role model as a kid, and that's all I wanted. I just wanted to be a jockey. I didn't understand it. I didn't know how much hard work it took or the sacrifice you had to make to get into it, but that's all I wanted to be. I wanted to win the Melbourne Cup, I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that, I wanted to win premierships. But I think the turning point was he sent me to New Zealand to get a bit of a feel for it, a couple of times on school holidays. Got the bug instantly, turned into a bit of shit at school at the same time, like that sort of 12, 13-year-old mark, and I was getting to the point where I was getting detentions and getting ready to get expelled, I think, if I was doing much more. And he basically said, listen, either sharpen up and go to school, or I'm going to ship you off to New Zealand, you can do your apprenticeship and jog on and be a rebellious 13-year-old
Lo and behold,
kid.
school.
I said, good luck to you, ship me to New Zealand, and probably the best decision he ever made for me. It was tough. It was 12, 14-hour days. I was with a brilliant horseman called Alan Jones at the time, and he worked the arse off me. It was tough. I hated it. Homesick. I was a kid, but
So how old were you then?
When I went? I was 13. I was probably about 3 or 4 months before. I was 3 or 4 months before. I would have been 14. Would have been about 6 months before I turned 15. So you had to be 15 to ride in races. So. Got the boot, did all my trials, getting ready to ride races, and I was sort of looking back on it. I was probably too young to go, but it was definitely eye-opening.
Well, that's it. Like, I've got branching out into something different, not only sports, but I've got mates exactly the same, and myself, who was, school wasn't for them at all. And one of my mates, formwork carpenter now, same thing, 13, you're not doing any school, ripped him out, started his apprenticeship at 14. He's running, building high rises by the time he's 20, and I'm talking like all the major buildings in there, the formwork, he's building 30-story things by the time he's 20, and people are like, how the hell is he going? So I see the opposite end of that, and people going to uni, they finish school, they go to uni, they get a HECS debt, and they come out and they're 30 with 100 grand debt, where if we're doing what we're doing, finishing now, hitting the ground running.
It's each to their own. Like, I was never going to be a doctor or a lawyer. I just never had any aspirations to do it. So. And I've got mates that are still studying, like they want to be neurosurgeons or high-profile lawyers or barristers, whatever they want to be, and they're still studying, which is great. Like, they know what they want to do. But mate, if I was sitting behind a desk or in a classroom, I'd zone out. That's just not me.
Yeah. So off to there, ship back, and that's you. You're in racing. I guess you're still very young at the age when you come back, and very light. As we dive into the podcast, that's definitely something we're going to be talking about. You being such a bigger jockey and a tall jockey, controlling your weight and what you have to do. So yeah, you come back from NZ. You've got the bug. Where do you go from there?
So I come back, long story short, my mother got quite sick when I was young. She was on the coast at the time. I'd done all the trials and a couple of races in New Zealand, and the old boy decided to bring us back to Marianne Thexton on the coast, be close to the mother. And it worked out well. She had a big team of horses. She put me on, I was flying. Weight was up and down at that point, but I could ride light enough, had the claim, I had a bit of luck. She was using me, and obviously it was good to be close to the family. Yeah. But it sort of bloomed from there, and then pushing 18, I think sort of the hormones kicked in and my weight just skyrocketed from there.
Yeah, right.
I just sort of pulled the pin for a good 3 or 4 years.
Okay, so where'd you go? What'd you do for 3 or 4 years?
I actually went to France to a bloke called Richard Gibson. They have the way that they run their apprenticeship system over there is a bit different. You only have to ride winners, you don't have to do a certain amount of time. So I could have gone over there, been a senior jockey, ridden heavier, all of that kind of thing. So I took the opportunity. I went, had a world of fun, riding in minus 14 degree weather. But it was brilliant. It was eye-opening, wouldn't change it for the world, but it was just hard to try and get the ride, especially in a country where I couldn't speak French. I had an interpreter, and it was just a nightmare. So
young, dumb.
I was 18. I thought I knew everything. Yeah. It was just, it worked out, but it didn't work out at the same time. From there, ended up in England under Luke Dittman. And I was trying to apply for a license there, but at the time you had to ride a Group 1 winner as a foreign jockey to hold a worker's permit, and being 18 and not having one, it was just impossible to get. Yeah. So, and then I just sort of, not lost the plot, but it just lost a bit of interest. Like, it was too hard to ride, the weight was getting up, it was cold, so I basically had a gap year, or a gap 3 or 4 years, and sort of worked in a real estate agent, wrote a bit of work, made a bunch of lifelong friends. I was living in Newmarket, living in London, like it was, like you can imagine, I was 19, 20, 21, free, living in Europe,
doing whatever
I want. It was gold. But the lifestyle has to end, and the visa ran out, and I come home and sort of got the bug again.
Yeah, right. So you come home, you're carrying a fair bit of weight after being able to ride a little bit heavier over there, back on the beautiful Gold Coast, and got the bug. How was the decision to go, all right, I'm really going to jump into this, I'm really going to have a go? Was it I'm either going to go be a real estate agent or get a job and do that, or I know what I'm doing in horse riding?
Well, coming home, I think I was 21 when I came home, and it was never a thought, like, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do for the next 50 years? It was just like, get up, it was week to week, I was mucking around with my mates, I was having a good time. Like, you go to Spain on the weekend, you come back, blah, blah, blah. It was just, like, it's mental. So no one really, like, no one knew what they were doing next month, let alone what they were doing in 10 years' time. And I think coming home, and, like, the old boy gave me a kick up the arse. I was like, what are you doing with your life? Like, and he actually got me a job with a mate of his in an office, and, like, I lost about 2 weeks. I was like, oh, mate, not a chance.
And not doing this. What were you doing?
Mate, I was actually working for a bloke. It was like cold calling, basically. It was, and it was like, it paid the wages.
Do you need an umbrella?
Yeah, but it was just like,
you want a pool?
Yeah, can you see you later? Like, more explicit than that, but basically, and I sort of went, screw it. I went back and wrote a bit of work, because like it was easy and you could earn good money, and the weight started coming down. I moved to Sydney to write a bit of work. I thought I'll go down there, I'll sort of see what contacts I can make, and I didn't even think about sort of coming back and riding. I was just sort of, maybe I'll get into training, maybe I'll get a foreman's job somewhere, and just sort of see how it panned out. But I got on the scales one day, and like I was hovering around the 65, 66 mark, and I was sort of 60 kilos, 59 kilos. And I thought, it's not great, but it's doable.
It's doable, yeah.
So like, got off the beers, got like a bit serious about it, just let it come down, and the weight sort of plateaued. It made sense to give it another crack, and luckily enough, the old boy pointed me in the direction of a bloke called Craig Ritchie, and he only had a small team at Warwick Farm, but he was willing to apprentice me, and from there I sort of got back into it, and it was a hard slog being in Sydney. Like,
Yeah.
I went months without riding a winner, and I was just punching around, and it was just, the boys down there. If I could imagine being a 3 kilo kid trying to get a ride, it was just impossible.
Not going to happen.
But,
so for everyone who's out there who doesn't know too much about racing, obviously Victoria and Sydney in Australia is basically the pinnacle, the high point. A lot of Group 1s, a lot of tough jockeys, and a lot of great trainers are all set up base and camp there. Not to say that Queensland racing isn't standing out on its own at all, but that's a lot harder ground to break into in town, especially in town. Yeah,
it's just ridiculous. Even the way I was going 4 and 5 hours to Orange to have 2 or 3 rides, just because your top profile jockeys might not go out there, your top sort of 5 or 6, but you're still getting those 8, 9, 10 boys going out there to ride on a Tuesday or something, and it makes it
trying
tough.
to get. So that's the other thing with racing as a sport. You can do everything right. You can train your ass off, you can get your weight right, you can study all the form, you can understand the tracks, you can do everything, and then it all comes down, I think we were speaking about this before, to someone's decision, whether they like you or not.
Basically, obviously that's in any sport, but there's no ranking. Like, you don't, okay, I've beaten this bloke, so I definitely get to go here. Like, you could
imagine if they brought that in. You got a jockey ranking system, because once again, going down a rabbit hole, horse racing doesn't stop.
No,
it's a 24 hour, day in, day out, every day of the year, 364. I think they have Christmas Day off. That's it. And if you have a week off, or even if you're injured or anything like that, you're back to square one. If you're not that top 1% who's built his name and got his name, and they're willing to risk you being unfit or anything like that, put you on the back of the horse, you're back to square one again. So how many times do you reckon you've had to hit reset and miss and go there?
But it's and sometimes it's not even your choice. Like, everyone's got to have a break at some stage.
Correct.
Like everyone's got to have a holiday, and that's not even like, you might have 2-3 weeks off, but it costs you maybe 2 months in the long run because you miss all those horses coming through. But it's more so that, like, I've broken my neck, broke my back, I've had 3-6 months off here and there, and it's just like your weight balloons. You come back, it takes you 6 weeks to get fit, and then it takes you another 6 weeks to build up rides. Like, you go on the races with 1 or 2 rides because, like, you're riding work for someone and he's the only person putting you on. You get 2 rides on a Saturday, and like, you're trying to get back into it, your morale's low because you can't get rides, you can't get winners, and like, it's a mad cycle. It's not like you just come back in and people think, oh, you go on holiday, you come back and you get 8 rides on a Saturday. Might happen for the top 1%, but even they find it tough. Like, and same thing, out of form. If I've seen top line jockeys be out of form and then just everyone hammers them, gets on the part, and they lose that thing, and you have to really go back to hard work or whatnot. And it might not be through what you're doing behind the scenes. It might be the caliber of horses that you're getting, and people don't see you training, what you're doing, cutting weight, what your diet is, or how mentally focused you are. They'll just see, oh, he ran 5th here, he ran last on that one, he ran 10th on that one. He's not riding any good. A lot of them is just a statistics game. Like, no one even, a lot of them don't even pay attention to how they, like, you could have 100 to 1 shot and run second on it.
Yeah.
And like, could have given it every chance, best ride you could have given it, blah blah blah, and everyone goes, oh well, you didn't ride a winner.
Yeah, well,
and that's the game.
Yeah.
Or like, you could be on a $1.20 shot, and it runs into a wet track, and everyone's backed it because they think it's unbeatable, and it just doesn't
swallows
handle the
its
track.
tongue or something stupid like that.
You're 1 out, 1 back, give it the peach, pull it out, let it go, and it falls in a hole, and you're like, well, like you said, swallows the tongue, it bleeds. Like, I've got sprays on Twitter for horses breaking down.
Yeah. How's that? Social media has brought ability for nuffers, absolute fucking nuffers, to get in contact with you. It's so hard these days, isn't it? And like, I've said it before on one of the podcasts, like, we go and the boys, they've shown me some of the messages that they actually cop, and you're just like, what stage are you at in your life, mate, to be able to do that? So I guess that's another thing that you have to put aside, you have to get out of your head. You can't read into the comments, you can't read into what's going on. You just have to know that, what your plan and focus is.
It's actually, I take it a little bit differently to most people. Like, if I've had a really bad day, I'll get on there and read them because they actually cheer me up.
Really?
Yeah, because like, I don't care. It doesn't worry me. Like, like, I've had death threats on there. I've had this, that. Like, go get it. Like, you're a butcher, blah blah blah. But that comes with the territory.
Yeah.
And I find it funny. Like, especially, I remember one day I went and rode 4 winners over the road here, and I think I had 5 rides, and one of them ran, like, the 5th ride run second. Nothing I could do. It was 10 to 1 or something. Just got beaten by the favourite. And some bloke got on there, absolutely plotted me. You're the worst jockey in the world.
Nah!
I was like,
I just fucking rode 4
that's
winners,
what
mate.
I just went, okay, maybe any other day you could be potting me like this, but I've just literally I've had a 9.9 out of 10 day.
Yeah.
Like done everything right except gotten beat on the last one like by second, and I give it the peeps. Like in my opinion, like couldn't have done anything
more. Yeah.
and just a bait. But that's the world we live in. Like you can do a million things right, no one says boo.
No, that's right.
You're doing your job. That's what you get paid for.
I've got that mindset now. I think it's the same as you. That I don't hear negative at all. Like it's weird. Like even if someone's like yelling at me with a bit of road rage and that, and chucking a smile, like, it just nothing can. When you get into that flow mentality and whatnot, nothing phases you. And I guess you could have fun with blokes like that and seeing how depressed and crazy they are.
But you can't be like if you're reading those things and you let it get you down, then it's not the right game for you.
No,
it's not. Like if you don't believe in yourself, and like we all have bad days. Like I've gone home from racing and been like, fuck, I messed up today. Or, that should have won, or this should have won. But like, the last thing I'm thinking about is old mate who's had $5 each way on something that probably couldn't have won anyway, or even if I did give it a bad ride, like.
Well, a lot of footy heads are speaking out about that now as well. Pappenhausen was one going, oh, mate, I don't care if I didn't score this week. I'm trying to win. Like I'm trying to win. Like people,
and that's the worst part is people think like because you don't win on them. Like instead of it just not being good enough or something going wrong, whatever it might be, it's always, if you didn't win, you pulled it up.
Yeah, but I guess that has been a stigma from 1960s to 1980s racing, where it was so easy. But that's not just racing. Everyone look at cricket. But look at footy game,
the whole thing, like you go back, like even I was reading a thing I think on the White Sox in the World Series in like 1912 or something, like 8 of them threw the game. Like that's going back 100 years. Like does that like if you it happens, don't get me wrong, it happens, but it's not, we're not pulling horses up in maiden races on a Wednesday because you've had $10 on them.
That's right.
Like it just doesn't happen.
And especially with your mentality, like you don't do this and you don't sacrifice what you got to sacrifice to ride losers or not to be the best at what you want to do. You're not doing this, from me knowing you throughout the time, your focus and your dedication to cut weight each week isn't to just get a payday.
No.
It's not okay, I need $1,000 that I need a certain amount of rides. You want to go for Group 1. You could have gone another way with your career and your life, which would have been a lot more comfortable, a lot more not as challenging with your weight, obviously. This wasn't the easy path by any means, and you're not out there to lose. Like most of my mates who are jockeys are fucking some of the most competitive people I've ever met.
But you have to. You can't, like, don't get me wrong, the money's insane, the lifestyle's insane, like, wouldn't change it for the world, but, mate, like, we're doing this podcast, I'm putting a sweatsuit on in an hour's time, I'm going for a 2-hour run, and then when I get home, I'm getting in a hot bath, and I'm sitting in it for 2 hours, and that's before I even think about having, like, a cup of tea for dinner.
Yeah, so let's jump into that. Let's go. You've been to New Zealand, you've got the bug, you've come back, you've got a bit of work down there, you've moved home. What goals did you set for yourself when you were back in straight away?
To be quite honest, mate, like I didn't really have that high expectations. Like, obviously, when I first started, I wanted this, I wanted that, I wanted everything. And reality set in. I was a heavyweight jockey, had to quit, blah blah blah. And I sort of come back with the expectations of, okay, if I get 12 months out of it, great. And then if I get to the end of my apprenticeship, I think that was my main goal. I had about 2 years or 2.5 years left. I thought if I can get to the end of my apprenticeship, can outride my claim, I'll be happy. Like I've been a jockey, if you know what I mean. And I kind of got there, and like I was successful at it, and the weight was holding out, and I just kept doing what I was doing and having a bit of luck and riding winners, and it worked out. But then I don't know, for whatever reason happened, weight got up again, made it a bit hard. Come back to the coast to ride, and that was my next goal, was just to ride a premiership at the Gold Coast. Like as a senior jockey, I was happy being like number 1 here, and that was the goal. And
that was very hard with who's King of the Coast? Dan Griffin. Yeah, that would have been it's like trying to get a halfback spot when Jonathan Thurston's playing. Like to steal one off him, or surfing. It's trying to Andy Irons stealing a surfing premiership of Kelly Slater. You know,
same thing. Like if you had a horse going around the Gold Coast, like you wouldn't even pick it up. You're the first person you'd ring would be Griffo. And understandable. He just won every race going around. And it was hard, and I give him a good competition, and like I think I nicked one off him, but like he's had 9 or 10 of them. Like
But how good is it to be able, in the middle of that glory that he was fastened to go, Lee, I got one.
Pinch one. Like I was happy to pinch one. But like from there, mate, the turning point in my career at this moment was COVID, which is crazy. Like a lot of people went through some hardship through it, but it blossomed my career. I got on Chris Waller's radar, and from being 4th or 5th string there, riding a few winners on those 4th or 5th string horses, it allowed me to get the #1 job in Queensland, and I went from...
Because with COVID, you were forced to divvy up our areas in racing, wasn't it? So you had to use those local trainer jockeys, and if your horse was there, that was you.
So they forced you. So the Brisbane boys stayed in Brisbane, and the Gold Coast boys stayed in the Gold Coast, and
and you're able to show, hey, look, this is what I've got. This is how I can. This is what I can do. I know the ins and outs and whatnot. Really, so I suppose I've seen that in your career. I remember watching, 5 years ago or something like that. After you probably nicked that premiership off Buffet, you're always getting 60 kilo rides. You never see you on anything sort of under you. So always sitting around that 60. And now, once you've picked up these Wallers, I'm seeing you at 56. I'm seeing you try and get down even under, which is hectic for your body. So for the listeners out there, how tall are you?
About 6 foot.
So about 6. He's about the same height as me. We'll get a photo after this and put it up as well. So for everyone out there listening, I weigh in at about 97 kilos. Just walking around happy when I'm fit and running or doing any sort of athlete sort of thing. I'm 91. So you're actually, if you walk around at 60, what's that? 37 kilos lighter than me. 37. Mate, that's huge. That's ridiculous, to be honest with you. And well, let's go into it. How do you manage that? Like, if you're sitting around 60, what's your training schedule like?
It changes every day. It changes every month. That's the worst part. Like, say 6 months ago, I was training heavy. I was running all the time. I was doing what I needed to do. Like, I was always active, always doing something, like counting calories, going nuts. And I found I was almost doing too much. Like, I was getting heavier. Not that I'm ever a big bloke going to bulk up, but like just
I suppose your body could.
An extra kilo of muscle is theoretically like that's an extra hour and a half I've got to sit in a bath to lose it. Like so about a month ago I just went, nah, I'm pulling up, I'm doing what I need to do, as little as I need to do, and just letting it come down and reset itself. And I'll probably do that for another month or so, see how it plateaus itself, and then get back into it. Probably won't train just as hard, but
well, how does that affect your ability on the horse? Because a lot of people think, once again, you sit on the back of the horse, you hold on. You don't. By the end of the race, you're blowing. It's like a 60-second high intensity.
Oh, I guarantee you could get any professional athlete in the world and put them on the back of a racehorse if you could replicate that in a safe manner, and that they wouldn't be able to stand. Like, it's weird. Like, I could go out and ride, when I'm rock hard fit, I could go out and ride 100 horses straight and not blow a candle out, whereas go for a jog and I'd knock up after sort of 5 or 10k. It's different. They're using different muscles. That's the hardest part. Go back to like when you have time off or when you get injured, trying to get fit again without being on the back of a horse is nearly impossible because you can't replicate what you do.
It's a lot like surfing. If there's a flat spell for 2 months, and we go through that here in Queensland, we get the winter westerlies. You go back out with a big swell and you're gasping for air. Completely different muscles, completely different fit. And it doesn't matter if you're running every day or anything like that. It's different balance, different muscles locked in. And like I said, a lot of people don't understand. So do you think stopping training and letting your weight reset, does that affect your fitness? Or when do you feel your best? When do you feel like at your absolute peak? Like,
See, the good thing about racing and the bad thing is, like you said, it runs 365 days a year. So once you're fit and you're rock hard fit and you ride and work every week and you ride trials and you ride races, you'll stay fit. So
it's a point of once you get there, it's so much easier. It's like rowing a boat.
It's just maintaining it. When you got to start, you go from 0 to 100, and that is the worst 3 or 4 weeks of your life. Like trying to get fit, get your weight down, sort everything out is just absolutely hectic. But once you're there, if you're riding every second day, or like I'll still go for a run, I'll still go for a walk, I'll still do light things like I'll go to Pilates and keep everything, like I'll keep everything fit and locked down, but I'm not flat out 3 hours, 4 hours a day training because I don't need to be.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people can take anything like something like that in whatever they do, whether it's, in business or they're trying to start a new project or they're just trying to get that first kilo lost. It's that 2 to 3 week period to get started is the absolute hardest.
But it's like anything. Like if you start a business, your first 3 or 5 years are going to be ridiculous. Like just going to pull your hair out, you're going to have sleepless nights.
Well, that's a great sort of algorithm you can use there, because businesses, you look at long term. Businesses, you look at 10 to 20. Losing weight and fitness and training, you can peak within 8 weeks. So, you know, you look at the first 2-3 years of a business, there's always hard work and a slog for a 10-year thing. The first 2-3 weeks of a fitness program or something like that is always going to be the hard slog for a 10-week sort of program.
And that's, if you can get through that breakthrough mark, that's all it is. Like, whether it be, I look at it through anything. Like, if I need to get fit, it's the first 2-3 weeks getting fit. Even getting in the bath and losing weight. Like, if I sit there and go, Christ, I've got 4 hours of this.
Yeah.
But I go, all right, I'll do 20 minutes. I'll see how I feel, and we'll get back in. And I'll do 20 minutes like that. I could do it on my ear, and you work in it. Like, you take chunks out of it, if you know what I mean.
Small goal orientated.
You don't go into business, go, okay, I'm going to have 15 franchises, like, in 12 months.
Well, that comes back to us being 21. We would have thought that when we were young.
But you got to have that mindset. Like, that's always the end goal, but it's not like, and that's what you're aiming for.
That's
but you know, like, that's not going to happen in 12 months. But if you have 2 open in 12 months, like a percentage of the way there, and then, okay, you got...
I guess a lot of people don't see, when you're in that zone and you're doing that hard work, and say you're sitting in the bath or anything like that, after 20 minutes, you see that you've lost 200 grams, or you've seen that you're up to a certain point in business or a certain point. It's very hard to see that as a win or a success, because they're so small and gradual. And when you get back to 2 years, or when you get to that weight, to look back and say, oh, that's what I've actually done. You need to be able to, set a point and recognize that, because that's what I found. Finding small wins along the way, I was never happy. I was always wanting more. It was only when I found time or a way to look back and reflect and go, oh shit, I have done that.
Yeah.
I should be happy with that. I should be improving. I don't have to be angry at myself because I didn't get to my next one in time or something like that. You need to represent. And I mean, it's always good to have drive and go forward and whatnot, but you need to be able to, like you said, if you're cutting weight, you need to be able to look back and go, all right, I've got 1 kilo done. This isn't going to be so hard. I've only got 3 to go. I've got that one done.
But it's always just a mindset. Like, your body can pretty much take anything. Like, that's what
I found.
Your body will do whatever you want it to do. It's your mind that won't.
Yeah.
Like, if you get in there and you're half-assed about something and you go, well, I've got 3 to lose, and you do 1 kilo and you go, I feel like shit, I'm going to get out, I'll pull a pin. Like, easy. Your body will sit in there and do 8 kilos.
Yeah.
Like, you might be on death's door, but you'll do it.
You'll fucking do it.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
It's this that you got to get through.
That's right.
And it's like anything. Like, as long as you got to want to do it, as in to the point where it means more to you than anything. Like, I know that's hard to say about cutting weight or not eating or something, but the end goal is like, what do you want? You want to ride that Group 1 winner. You want to be successful in the company you've done. You want to get down to a certain weight, whatever it is. Like, if you want it bad enough, you'll get it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter like what comes in front, or what steps in front of you. Like, weight's been my biggest issue from day dot. But people were saying that I wouldn't last past 18. People were then saying I wouldn't last past 25. Now, like, even my old boy goes, Christ, like, I didn't even think he'd get to 30, and like, I'm 2 months away from 30.
And chasing down the best part of your career.
I've never, like, you asked me 10 years ago, would I be stable jockey for the leading, like, in Queensland for the leading trainer in Australia? Like, I'd be like, mate, I'd love to be, but like, seriously,
how am I
like, that's the goal. But like, and I look back on it and I go, like, it's been a dream, if you know what I mean. Like,
but every step of your way has basically built up to this point.
Exactly, and you need the opportunity. Don't get me wrong, you need the opportunity. You definitely need luck, but in saying that, like, you make your own luck.
That's right.
Like,
you didn't pass up on the opportunity.
No,
you got the opportunity and you took it with both hands. And you see a lot of that in rugby league as well. You know, you might only get one shot at the top game, and you're in, or the next guy's up.
Like, sometimes too, it's at the misfortune of someone else. But that's just the world we live in. Like, someone gets hurt or someone gets suspended or whatever.
Especially in sports. As good as it is to be a nice guy in sport and be good, but you got to have that ruthless mentality. You have to have that fucking...
and it's not like...
It's not personal by any means.
You're not a parent. You're not like, he's my best mate.
Fucking participation medal, by the way.
I ride with some of my best mates, and like, they've taken good rides off me, and it's not... Like, we've always got an expression, there's no friends on the grass. So like...
Well, mate, same thing. I played against some of my best mates, and mate, I think me and Mooney, Jason Moon, were playing a game against each other. I think I was playing for Mackay Cutters, and he was Wynnum Seagulls there in the Queensland Cup. and parents are sitting next beside each other in the stands, and we've come together in a tackle, and Mooney's dropped an elbow, done something like that, me and him holding each other like that. Yeah, going, the parents are like looking at each other going, what are these boys? But I know exactly, it's crossed the white line, it's professional sports, it's into it. Yeah, so you're balancing out now, you rock hard fit when you get there, but you know, how hard is cutting weight for you? Let's dive into that. Do you find it easy now that you've got a routine, or is it something that you've got to go, I have to do this every day?
Well, you've got to watch it. See, like I look at some boys and their mentality is 24/7. Like they're 100% watching what they're eating, training every day. And I get that, and I to a degree I am like that. But I need to have that like cheat meal, if you know what I mean. Like I need to be able to go for dinner with my mates, or take the missus out once a week, or whatever it might be, and just to reset.
Not have that anxiety of what you're doing.
Yeah, and I'd much rather, if let's say I go out on a Sunday night and I wake up and I'm 60.5 or 61 kilos, but I'm happy.
Yeah.
Whereas if I looked after it and didn't go out on that night, I might wake up 59.5. Like it's only a kilo, but that's massive in our sport.
Yeah.
Whereas I'd rather put through the extra pain on the Tuesday night to take that kilo off, knowing, okay, I've reset, I've had a good time, blah, 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 I did what I wanted to do, rather than you're depressed all week because you're like, well... Like,
I missed out on that. I missed out on that.
I'm not riding for 4 days, but I can't go see my mates because, like, I can't eat anything, or I can't... Like, not that I'd ever have a massive blowout, not sitting there, like, gorging yourself or having 400 beers.
Do you have times that you just want to go... Let me at it.
Plenty of times, but like, there's always a way to have a cheat meal without actually having. Like, mate, I saw your Super Bowl day.
Yes.
And we had a brilliant Super Bowl day. Like, we were on the beers all day, blah blah blah, like food and everything. But like, the boys are picking out on you on all your brisket and that, and I had a couple of slices, unreal. But like, they're all drinking beers and shipping away, whereas I might have had a vodka soda or something like that, correct. And it's just, no one notices, but it's like, if I have 15 beers, I'm 200 kilos.
That's right.
If I have 8 or 9 vodka sodas, like, you're just recycling. I'm going to put on half a kilo because it's basically just water and it's diuretic.
Little thing, So, I guess understanding the food that you're eating would be huge for you. Understanding what is high caloric foods, what's low caloric foods. A lot of people, like you said, track. And something that I did, you know, being an athlete, becoming a fat fuck, I had to learn... reset again, because my whole rugby league career was eat, get bigger, get bigger, steak, bang, bang. And then when I stopped playing, I still had that mentality of bang, eat, because
you're not doing the training.
No, I was like, we were training. Picture this: a semi-professional rugby league player chasing the dream of the NRL. Of course, we were still working as a renderer. You know, 5 days a week. Yeah. So I'm burning 2,000 calories through the day. Then I'm training 5 times a week and playing on weekends.
Didn't matter what you ate.
We couldn't eat enough food. And there was times where, you know, coaches and that were telling us, go, just have 6 beers after a game, please. Like, of the biggest, baddest caloric food, just so you could keep that weight on. Because as the season progresses in rugby league, you know, you do all your hard work in the beginning season. It's basically just about trying to stay alive. By the end of it, you got injuries, you're losing weight, you can't gain weight during the season or anything like that. So I had that mentality after rugby league and blew out, and I really had to reset and learn. I knew I always had that mentality in me I knew I could get back there. I knew what I had to do to get back there. So I sort of had a front foot on, you know, understanding what was coming. But everything I was fed 10 years ago and everything I thought I knew about food, I've found out I don't do one single thing of it anymore. You know, not one single. I find out that, you know, counting calories isn't the be all or end all. It's about
and it's a different lifestyle. Like like you're saying back then, like having 6 beers after a game to keep weight on. Like I get it because like it's so high in carbs and whatever it might be. But it's just the work you're doing is completely different.
Completely different. So on a day-to-day basis now, I only one meal a day. But I'll eat, you know, big red steaks and brisket, as you know, which is has a lot of energy, high caloric food, and I try and run on fats for fuel rather than carbs and whatnot, because I find that the carbohydrates or the small meals, like you said, you can go get Maccas and you're full for 20 minutes and then you're resetting. So what sort of foods do you eat to prolong that? Because obviously you're not, do you do 1 meal, 2 meals a day, or do you do 6 little ones?
This is where it's hard in regards to like any other sort of professional sport, because I've been to dietitians, I've been to like footy players or whoever it might be, and they're like, everyone's got a different system.
Correct.
Let's have 6 meals a day, or small meals, or have 1 meal. But our problem is like, it doesn't matter how many meals you have a day or what you eat. Like there might become 2 or 3 days where I can't eat, like just simply because I've got to ride light.
Yeah.
So like it ruins. You might have 6 meals a day on Monday, small ones, 6 meals a day on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then all of a sudden like I'm as light as I can be without cutting weight.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I've got, well, I can't take any more because I've still got 3 kilos to go.
Yeah.
So just might not eat. So that's the hardest part. But I found, like, it's common sense. Like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realise that if you have fish and salad, it's going to be easier to process, easier to get off your body, easier for your body to stay fueled for longer than having something like a Macca's or eating anything that's deep fried, or if you know what I mean. Like, you don't have to be a nutritionist or study food to understand it. Like,
well, that's what I find with people because I obviously do a low carb sort of lifestyle now, and I find my body absolutely purrs on it. But just replacing a bun with a lettuce leaf is a difference between 200 calories and 5 calories, and your body, like you said, can turn it, process it, and move it on.
But even like I found too that when I can eat, back in the day when I was a kid, I'd be like, I'd not eat shit, but I'd be like, okay, I'll go for dinner and I'll have pasta.
Yes.
And it'd be healthy enough pasta, but you realise like it's just full of carbs, it takes a week to get off you, like it just sits. Whereas I go, well, like I can eat what I want and I'm hungry, why don't I go have as much fish as I want? Or I'll go out and I'll have steak and some greens because like half that size of steak will fill me up. Like I'll look at it and go, oh, that won't do anything. I'll get halfway through it and be like, oh shit, like I'm full.
I'm done.
Like your eyes are always bigger than your belly, if you know what I mean. And as long as you're eating stuff that you know is healthy and in my world, like that I can get off. And what I mean by that is if I drink a litre of beer or a litre of water, they're exactly the same weight. Exactly. Stand on the scales, put on the same weight, but I can get water off like that. I'll get water off in 3 hours. It'll just flush straight through. If I drink a beer, it'll sit on me for 2 days. And it's a weird concept to sort of get around, but your body just retains it and holds onto it. It's like anything with salt in it, it's the same concept.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So man, like I guess understanding foods and like you said, it's not rocket science for everyone out there, but just trying to ditch that fast food mentality and Uber Eats and all that people up, man, because it is just now an access to shit. Like I jump on there sometimes when I haven't cooked for a night. I try and find something that will sit well with me. And there's nothing. You can't get anything on there that's fresh, healthy, or unless you go down and sit down, like you said, get steak and beans and all that. And I think people out there who are battling with their weight need to understand that a lot of preparation goes into this, and that you need to understand the foods and cooking at home and not staying at home, but understanding programming what you're going to do at home rather than just going, oh, let's get this, let's get that, let's get this.
It's just, and it takes some time to get used to. Like I'm lucky, I've got a girl now that loves cooking and she's good at it. Like so we'll go, like last night she's like, what do you want? I was like, what's that, fish and greens? And she cooked fish and greens and it was brilliant. But like it's just, and I get it because I'm not a cooker.
How's your body? You run well off that though? You run well off those foods? You feel good?
So I had, yesterday I had a coffee in the morning, I had a little like steak wrap, steak wrap for breakfast, and I didn't eat all night till we had fish and broccoli and a couple of greens. And I got up this morning, I probably won't eat today. Depending on what I cut, like I might go for a run this afternoon, or when I finish with you, and I might have a coffee. And that probably gets me through today.
Have you looked into this? Have you looked into what cutting does to your body, does to your kidneys, does to your insides? Because I speak about this, like fighters do this once every 8 weeks to get down to go to fight. You're doing it weekly, bud.
Oh, we're doing it 2 or 3 times a week.
That's exactly right. Like
so it can't be good for you. Like it.
You haven't dove into it, have you?
Not. I'm probably a bit scared to be quite honest. Like when I was a kid, when I was younger and the weight started getting up, I was doing it wrong in the fact that I'd be sort of 60, 62 kilos on a Monday. And I was trying to ride 52 kilos on a Saturday. Like I was cutting 8 and 10 kilos a week, and doing that, and like I remember I was sitting in bars, and I'm like, if I go under here, I can just drown myself, like just like that, just like that's, and talk about like your body will do anything as long as your mind will get you through it. Like I was at the brink of it was just too much. Like, whereas now, like I could probably get lighter if I desperately need to. But I couldn't sustain it, if you know what I mean. Like my problem is, I could probably, if I had to ride 54 or 55 or something, I'd get there, but I'd kill myself to get there, and then it'd just bounce, and then it'd just be a headache like I couldn't do it 3, 4, 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Whereas now I go, okay, well, what's the lowest I can be and feel healthy and ride at my best, and still maintain a job? Like, it's not.
So yeah, I understand. So you found that happy zone of where I can sit. No, I'm not going to go down there. And look, we spoke about this before the podcast. You've lost rides, which would now lead to, you know, Group 1 rides because you didn't have that extra half a kilo in you.
Yeah, 100%. And there's, like, at the time I might not have known, like, they're good horses going for good races, or they were unknown horses going for good races, and you sort of lost out because someone else could ride that kilo lighter, that half kilo lighter, and then they've won and they've won again, and they go to those big races. But what are you
going to do there? You know what I mean? Do you make a decision to for 8 weeks go, all right, I can ride at 54, I'm going to give it everything, and then none of those horses come along, and then you rinse and repeat, now you're back up to 60, and you haven't found that.
It's that happy medium, the fact that, okay, let's say I thought it was the next far lap, and I got down there, and it ran terrible, and then I realised, okay, maybe we were all wrong here, and I've cooked myself, and then we're midway through Carnival, and instead of my weight hovering around 59, 60, I'm 63, and I can't even ride my old minimum, let alone what I was trying to ride, and then it cooks you in the long run. So my career, I've got a couple of mates that ride now, and they're like, oh, just do it, like, it's Carnival, get lighter and that, and the way I look at it, it's longevity. Like, I know I'm not going to ride till I'm 50 or 55, like the sort of average career of your jockey. But if I can get to 40, where I should have got to 30 or 35, it's 5 years or 10 years extra that I should have got. Yeah, I might miss out on
this time. I guarantee you it's coming.
But
but if you fuck up and put all your eggs in this basket now and go, I want that one this year, and it doesn't come, well, then you're not going to have that extra 8 years of your career.
And you got to, like, it's risk and reward at the same time. Like, you've got to, if you think it's good enough, you've got to have a crack at it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes, like, it's
crazy.
Yeah, it's a crazy sport, and no one really knows. Like, the amount of times I could have been on a good horse, or I wasn't on a good horse,
and then once again, it is a good horse, but then it's in the hands of a trainer who might stuff something up, or it kicks its heel going out and cuts its back hind, and it's gone for.
Mate,
it gets bit by a spider in the stables. You
the best prime example recently for my career is, I was half a shot of riding Shaquira and the Millions, who ended up winning. So the long story short, while I had 3 in it, or 3 going for it, I was 3rd string, and what basically needed to happen was ranch hand to get a run for Huey to ride ranch hand, and I would have been on Shaquira.
Wow.
What happened was, he was first emergency, so no one really scratches on the Millions, so Huey jumps off ranch hand, gets Shaquira, and I'm left on the sidelines, which is, like, I understand it, that's just the way the game played, but I was one horse off riding him,
and it was peaking at the right time.
No one wanted to ride him because, not saying that, is I rode him when he first come up here in a good race at Eagle Farm, and I just think he didn't handle the track. He ran terrible, he over-raced, he hung, and he just didn't, like, if that was his run leading in the Millions, you'd be like, he's 100 to 1, he can't,
that's right.
No chance. And
we got 12s, I think.
And then he come out and he runs second to a pretty good horse back at the track.
Correct.
And that was enough, and it's sort of up and down, and then they always like ranch hand, he's going to be a hard horse to beat, and JJ coming up and things like that, but they didn't want to be on him, and I so happened to pick up the ride so long as things worked out. But that was in the lap of the gods. We just, one horse doesn't accept, or whatever it might be, and he gets a run and I'm on him, and obviously he proved he was good enough. But that's just the way racing is, and I might have missed out that day, but you keep punching away, and I'll get one next year, I'll get one the year after. Like, it's coming, I just don't know when.
Could be like Nathan Hindmarsh, mate. Never get a premiership.
I hope, touch wood.
No. So, look, mate, I guess you've found that balance and flow, and that's something that the listeners and people watching out there can find. That harmony, and you've got that formula now, and once you've got that formula, you don't really need to change, you just need to add little things or tweak little things. And we've spoke about your pro long, you want to ride till you're 40. What's your main goals?
Mate, obviously I just want to continue having success in town.
Okay.
It's tough at the moment because I can't get the sort of 8 or 9 rides every day on a Saturday in there, because of my weight. Like, a lot of races sort of rule me out, but if I can go to the race with 3 or 4 rides and ride a winner, and I can be in that top 10 in the premiership in town, and I'd love to still be with Chris. I'd love to still have success with Chris. He's always got the good horses up in Queensland, and he's been a phenomenal support for me. Like, just the fact that he gives me 10 rides a week, that's just crazy. Like, I didn't think I'd be in that position 6 months ago, let alone the way I am now. But that's the goal, is just turn up every Saturday, ride a winner, do my best, and if that leads to being top 10 in the premiership, then that's what probably this year is aiming for. And then
build on that.
Yeah, and then maybe next year Carnival comes rocking around, and instead of being sort of 4th or 5th on that list with those interstate jockeys coming in, I might be 3rd.
Yeah.
And then you're guaranteed sort of he's always having 2 or 3 runners in those big races. Then you're guaranteed a ride, and then when you're guaranteed a ride, you've got a shot at it.
Yeah.
And then you get up on one that's 50 to 1 in those big races, and away you go.
All right, last thing I guess we want to touch on is something that people don't know. I talk about this a lot, is what's pre-race preparation, especially for a big day or a metro meet. Like, do you switch on? Do you do form? Do you understand the horses? Do you check the track? Like, what goes through your mind? Like, for me, for a game, I'd zone out, I'd earphones in, I'd picture the game of how I wanted it to play and how I wanted it to turn out. Or even surfing, going for a surfing in some good swell, I'll look at the banks and I'll picture where I want to be and how I want to attack it. How do you attack a big day? Like, do you get nervous? What's it like, the energy in the room, in the sheds? Is it weird? Or?
It's weird. Like, I find it, I don't want to sort of downplay it at all, but we do this day in and day out every day, if you know what I mean. Like, don't get me wrong, you go to a Group 1 or you go to a big meeting, you go, and as soon as you get on track, you understand, like, it's buzzing, there's atmosphere. And talking about getting nervous, yes, you do. Like, you walk out for those Group 1 races, and it doesn't matter, like, you're on a $1.20 shot or you're on a 100 to 1 shot. Like, you're all there chasing that Group 1 glory, and the butterflies kick in. And for me, I find that, you talk to owners, you do whatever you do for every other race, when you've done your form, you know the horse backwards, this, that, and the other. You get on its back, and I find as soon as I get on its back and I get over its neck and I go to the gates, it's like any other race.
You're done.
And the fact that you've done your preparation, you do, like, I say to myself, I do this fucking every day, day in and day out.
Yeah.
I'm good at it. I ride winners. It's just another race. They're just faster horses. Yeah. That's the only difference. They're just faster horses. And all your job is to give it the best run possible. Yeah. Is to not get in its fucking way, basically. And if you can come out and you can settle it, and you know, okay, I got a favourite in front of me, or I've got 100 to 1 shot in front of me.
Can you see that as you ride? Do you know?
Oh, you have to.
Colours?
I have. So you do your form, and like, you're going around every day, so you know who's on what, or especially those big races. Like, you watch those big races coming from Sydney and that, like, you know if you got a Humidor in front of you, or if you got Eduardo in front of you, or whatever it might be. And like, there's a big difference between having those horses in front of you that you know might take you into the race, than having something that's
going to stop. This thing's
like,
going to stop.
Got beaten in a listed race by 30 lengths last start. Now all of a sudden it's stepping up to a Group 1, and you're like, well, it's going backwards at the half mile, and the last thing you want to do is be up its bum. Like, you've got to do your form, because you've got to know. Like, firstly, you got to know the pace, like how quick they're going. That's your biggest thing, and then you got to know what's around you. Like, if you got the favourite inside you,
and you don't have no stopwatch when you do it. I can see. I love it, because I watch the sectionals up on TV. I go, oh fuck, they're going a bit too quick here. Do you have a song or something in your head that you know that's a 200, that's a thing, or how do you get into that rhythm?
I think you just know, if you know what I mean. Like, it's just, you do it enough, you just know, and that's probably. But as like, people ask what makes a good jockey, I think that's the biggest thing, is knowing how quick they're going.
Correct.
Because it's like, imagine getting in your car, no speedometer, no fuel gauge, no nothing, and then go for a drive.
And police radar.
Yeah, police radar everywhere, and then you've got to
not get fined.
Your biggest thing is how fast you're going, and then second thing, when am I running out of petrol?
Yes.
So that's and that comes down to knowing your horse at the same time, like what it likes to do. Does it like to settle worse in midfield and have a storming run on, and hopefully you get a bit of a quick pace, so I can do that. But then again, if you're back there and they're walking, you know you can't wait till the 400 to make a move, because the leaders are often gone, you're never going to catch it. So,
and then you add in different tracks. You got to know tracks. You got to know the highs.
100%. Like, you're riding at Eagle Farm or Sunny Coast, big difference to riding at Kilcoy or Beaudesert. Like, they're often gone before they get into the first turn at Beaudesert, whereas you can sit all day at Eagle Farm. It's such a long straight. So 100%, and you got to know fast lanes. You got to know, like, it's people who don't know think you just get on and the horse does all the work.
One trick pony. Goes around
and in theory, they do all the running, but like, You got to put them in the right lane. You got to know, like, they got a mind of their own. They might go 100 miles an hour and they're like run into a hole with 400 to go. So you got to be able to hold them up. You got to be able to do this. You got to be able to do that. There's a million things that make and you gain millimeters.
Yeah,
so
that's exactly. Oh,
you go in instead of out, and it costs you an inch. You lose by an inch. You run second.
Yeah, that's right, mate. It's been sensational to get to know what goes in behind the scenes. I want to come back. I want to come back and do this again in 6 months, in a year, and see where we're at.
I'd love to, mate. I'd absolutely love to.
Be under it. But so for everyone out there, you can sort of get across and keep following Lukey's career as he grows. His social medias are.
It's Dittman23 on Insta and Twitter, and just Luke Dittman on Facebook.
Do you spray some people on Twitter? Are you going to respond?
If it's funny enough, I'll respond. I'm not a big, like, if you respond to one, you respond to others. Like, I remember, I probably haven't. I remember one time, bloke absolutely hammered me, like completely hammered me, and it was one of the better sprays I've got on Twitter. Yeah. And I just replied, I was like, just out of curiosity, what have you done? And he actually, I was expecting a smart ass answer or an informed answer, and he actually wrote back the next day and he was like, mate, I'd done 100 or something, and I bombed you, and it was really not your fault, I don't apologise. And it was just, it wasn't the response. Like, I was expecting him to say, oh, you should have been here, and I've been like, moron, this was the go, like, I couldn't have been here because this would have happened, like, if I went back, this would have happened. And he actually went, I watched the replay, I was wrong for giving you bait, there's nothing you could have done, and it was...
So keep it light, keep it entertaining, and Lukey will respond on your Twitters. But like I said, you've stepped up your game on there as well. You can see all his upcoming rides. He's on his story and whatnot, and really jumping behind this bloke, because I think over the next 2-3 years up here, if you can keep getting those rides, and like you said, keep progressing, mate, tick those boxes, and we'll have one big night when you get that.
100%, that's the plan. You better be there.
Yeah,
Cheers.
my man. Thank you.
Thank you.